I have to laugh at some of my hawk-eyed viewers that will nitpick and pick up on the slightest little thing, and yet not one person has even bothered to notice the big change that I've done on a couple of the last videos with the logo. Not one person mentioned that the VCRs are all going backwards. Anyway, this is a VCR video. It's a GE. This is what I'm selling. I'm doing general maintenance on it just to make sure that it's going to work for a while. Let's check it out. I have this is a GE. I think this is Thompson GE VCR. Just a mono machine that I need to take a look at, as I have somebody who's been messaging me wanting to buy a VCR. So I said, yeah, I'm sure I can find you one. So this is a $50 VCR. If it works. We're going to give it a quick service. This one came from the House of Smoke, along with many other things that I have yet to get to, including an Akai 4000 reel-to-reel. We'll be getting to that at some point. Alright, so this is who made this machine? Looks pretty dirty inside. We're going to give this a good cleaning before I even plug it in. So I'm going to grab some cleaner and we'll clean the heads and so forth. And then we'll plug it in and see what else it needs. It probably needs a mode switch cleaning. I'm assuming it will, just because of how filthy this thing is. The heads weren't too bad. I'll plug it in and just see if it works. I originally put that CRT up there for watching TV. Actually, look at my security cameras. But with the fact that, and I have the plasma that I was using for testing, and I was using my LCD as my camera viewfinder, but the LCD has packed it in. I haven't got around to taking it down off the wall. The reason I haven't got around to taking it down off the wall is I know how much of a hassle it was to put it up there. See, it's mounted on a wall bracket, but the wall bracket is not the correct size for the TV. It's an older set. So taking it down is going to be just as big a challenge as it was putting it up. It's got a piece of plywood mounted to the back of the TV that the bracket is screwed down to. So when it comes down, I might put another setup in place of it. One that will fit on that bracket, as I do have other ones kicking around here. This thing powers up. Let's grab a tape. We'll see whether it plays. This machine appears to work. Excellent. We're going to clean the mode switch on it anyway, just because I'm going to be selling this unit, but it is functional. It plays. I'll show you the picture later. But it does play. As to say, the mode switch does need to be done for sure, because this is one that I'm going to be selling, and I don't need it coming back after a couple days because something has gone wrong. So we'll pull this unit apart and clean that mode switch. To pop the front off. And this is a 4-head machine, incidentally. It just doesn't have any connections on the top. This would have been sold as I guess an entire drum. You would have, when this one, if this one had to have the head replaced, you wouldn't be buying it as an upper drum, because I don't think the upper drum comes off on this. I mean, it must come off somehow, but it's probably held in place by a clip on the bottom. And the rotary transformer on this may even be around the core, like some of the Panasonics. It may be around here, and the whole entire drum assembly speeds down. I don't know if you heard the phone ring there or not, but I've got two R1000s and a Akai 747 reel-to-reel that are coming in. It was a customer I've done work for in the past, and he's bringing me some more stuff. Despite what my trolls say, how they would never get me to work on their stuff. That's fine. I don't need to work on your stuff. I have plenty to work on. Having been in the repair business professionally since I guess it was 83. When I made my career change, my original career was going to be television production. I did it. I started a company, and I still am doing television production, but just my own stuff now. But when I went to school, that's what I went to school for, was I went to school for television production. Went to VCIT. That was my career choice, but that didn't pan out. I did an internship too, as I've mentioned before. That didn't pan out, primarily because I didn't want to relocate. I figured, okay, I can just do my internship locally at a local community station, and I'll get hired by the big stations. And I mean, two of the guys that I worked with, who also interned at the same time as me, that worked out for them. But for me, it was like, yeah, you want to work in this industry? Oh, you'll go work in Quesnel or Prince George or somewhere up north. And then once you've done that for a couple of years, then maybe you can come back and work in the big city. And for me, relocating was not something that I had ever planned to do, and I said thanks, but no thanks, and went to my second career choice, which was fixing electronics. I don't know if I had to take those screws out of the bottom or not, but I did it just in case. Oh, okay. I love the mode switch on this. Here they are. This is the mode switch. That's there. Right, there's no rotary switch on this one. Who made this thing? TCE, Thompson Consumer Electronics. They didn't make this thing. Are you kidding me? Who made this thing? Anyway, that's the mode switch right there. And we're just going to give that thing a shot of some cleaner and throw this thing back together. That one does double duty. I guess that one triggers when you put the tape in. And then it follows this cam. You see here, there's two cams right here that those switches sit in, and as the main slide moves back and forth, it moves the switches at different intervals, and that's what tells the microprocessor where it is. I've seen this design before. I've just never seen this one. I've seen the ones which have the little pin switches that poke down. It's still a rotary switch, but they have little pin switches that poke down instead of the contacts that wipe around like most of them. They have just little lobes on the bottom of this rotary encoder that pushes down on the switches themselves. I've seen those ones before. That should clean this one up quite nicely. Anyway, as I was saying, I originally was going to go into TV production, but that didn't pan out, so my second career choice was to fix electronics. It really wasn't a career choice. I never planned on doing this work. I just happened to score a job at Sony, and I saw an ad that Sony was running, and it said, and I had done apprentice work at a shop when I was in high school. All through high school, I'd worked at a shop called Imperial TV, and it goes back further than that. When I was a kid, when I was like 9-10 years old, my old neighbor, well, would be neighbor to me now. The house is directly across the street from where I live now. I don't live where I lived when I was growing up, but I was in the neighborhood. But the house directly across the street from where I live now, the guy that was there, he was one of the original TV repairmen in the area. There was two other shops. One was called Jack's Radio, and the other one was called Imperial Electric. And I got chummy with the guy from Imperial Electric. He would kind of give me pointers, but I never worked for him because I was only like, you know, a kid. And I think the big eye opener was, it was probably 1976. I had tinkered with radios because my old neighbor Al, the guy that used to live across the street from where I live now, he was a tube guy. So, you know, he would let me go into his garage where he worked, because he worked from home. He had his service truck, and he'd go out and work in the house, and he'd pull chassis and bring them back to his garage to work on them. But he had a nice little setup in his garage. And I'd go over to his garage, and you know, he was a friend of the family. That's why I went over there. It wasn't like I was going over to some neighbor's place and just hanging out there and learning how to fix old tube radios. The man was a personal friend of my parents, and they had known him for years because he was a resident, obviously. And anyway, the story goes, when I was about 13, I guess I had a Pong game, and I plugged the wrong voltage adapter into it and popped it. And I took it in because I didn't know anything about this. It had this mysterious new device called an integrated circuit in it. So I went into the Imperial Electric shop, saw the owner there, and he looked at it and he says, yeah, this thing, I don't know anything about this. It's not worth fixing. Toss it out. Oh, and by the way, that's $30 for my time. I said, $30? I don't have $30. I was like 13 years old or so. Maybe 12. Might have been 12. He says, I'll tell you what. He says, if you want to learn about this stuff, why don't you come in here after school, and you know, I'll teach you a few things. And I'd already been taught a few things from my neighbor on tubes and stuff, right? So that sounds like a good learning opportunity. So I started hanging out there after school. And then he sold the business to one of his employees, and they changed the name to Imperial TV. And the guy that owned it, he was retiring. He had a son, and his son was going to fix TVs. He was also tech. He was going to fix TVs, but he was going to work as a mobile service tech. So he was going to work from a truck. He got like a big 5-ton truck, and had equipped it for repairing it. He had put all of his tools and stuff in this big 5-ton truck, and he was going to go out and repair televisions in people's driveways. Just plug an extension cord in so he could power up all his test gear, and he would sit in the driveway. That was his ambition. I don't know whatever happened to that. I know he did it for a while, but the store sold to a fellow that I ended up working for. I worked there while I was in high school, and he taught me a bunch of stuff. He was a very good guy, and but again, no interest, none whatsoever, in repairing electronics. You see, while in high school, although I was interested in electronics, and I built electronic projects, I built a black and white TV camera, an amplifier that used a module, and a bunch of other little gadgets. I also was interested in television production, and I started working as a volunteer at the local community TV station when I was in high school. In fact, I would work after school at this TV shop, and then the weekends I would work at the community TV station, and we'd go out and do multi-camera setups, you know, high school football games and hockey and that type of stuff, and working in the studio. And I actually enjoyed that work. So when I finished high school, I was not going to pursue a career in electronics. I was going to pursue a career in television. And I went to BCIT and took the television course. Got on staff at the local community station that I had been volunteering for, and I worked there on staff for a relief for a year. One of the employees had taken time off. When that year was up, I figured I would try to get into regular TV stations, but that didn't pan out. Again, it's very, very competitive, extremely competitive. So anyway, I saw this ad that Sony were running that said they were looking for junior technicians to join their team. I figured, okay, well, I think I can qualify for that. So I applied at Sony. Got a call back from Sony. They said, hey, well, we could use you. We'll hire you and we will put you on our Betamax training course, because what you're going to be doing is servicing Beta machines. Because Betamax was still a thing back then. There were still lots of Beta machines out. And I went and worked for Sony for about a year, fixing literally hundreds of Beta machines, recapping all the servo boards on the 5000 series and putting the rewind kits in. And there was two of us working at this service center that was in Vancouver, below the Sony store. They had their main service center in Richmond, and they had this satellite service center. And that was because this was the main, it was the Miller's, the Sony store at the time, and they had a warehouse, and this was a warehouse for inventory coming in that was being distributed to other Sony stores. It was like the whole basement. And so we were fixing all these machines that were brand new, that had not even been sold yet, because they had identified that capacitors made by Sanyo were bad. And we changed, literally, I think it was 47 aluminum through-hole caps that had to be changed with tantalum. Did that for a year, and then Sony said, hey, we got a full-time position for you. It's in Winnipeg. There was two positions that were permanent. There was one position in Vancouver that was permanent, and there was one position in Winnipeg that was permanent. And the guy that I worked with, name was Conrad Goff. He got the position in Vancouver because he'd been hired a couple weeks before me. So he got that position, and I was offered Winnipeg, and I said thanks but no thanks, and I ended up at this other shop out in my neighborhood that was in need of someone, and I spent almost 20 years at that place. So I do know a few things. This one's working. We'll check all the features. Fast forward, reverse search. Play. We'll check the full fast forward and rewind. Rewind. And there's full speed rewind. Stop, back to play. Alright, it's playing good. Alright, this one's done. I even found the remote for this, and it actually works. Just throw batteries in it, but I found the original remote for it. So that'll make the guy that's buying this happy. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.